All right, so you're probably wondering, why am I wearing a jumpsuit like I just went to jail? Well, we're doing something really crazy today. I'm here with my friend, Lucas Colombo, who's gonna be filming this. He's an expert with Blackmagic cameras. I wanted this test to be as unbiased as possible. We're gonna be putting up the Canon C500 MKII against the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. This is gonna be an awesome camera comparison test. Let's go.
Hey, my name is Lucas Colombo. I'm a director DP here in LA. I shoot a lot of features, TV shows, a lot of commercials, and been shooting a lot with Blackmagic lately. So when Armando reached out and said, hey, are you interested in doing a comparison with my new C500 MKII and the very popular Pocket 6K camera from Blackmagic, it seemed very intriguing to me because you have very different cameras in terms of entry-level price and mid to high-level price, different sensor sizes, but you still have that 6K resolution, and so people will still be interested in comparing them. Armando reached out also because he didn't want anyone to think he was biased to Canon cameras and how excited he was about his new camera. So I've done a lot of shooting with various cameras and focused primarily in the last few years with Blackmagic cameras. So gear-wise, we outfitted the C500 MKII with a wooden camera rig. We had Teradek wireless signal sending over to the Blackmagic 17-inch monitor for Video Village. And on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera, we outfitted the whole thing with Condor Blue cage and accessories. We also had the Teradek on there. And for lens choice, I used the Sigma Cine lenses, one of my favorite sets. It's also extremely popular, so you may have been able to shoot with these, and if not, you should definitely try them. One of the cool things about this test is we really only needed one set, because knowing that the C500 has a full frame sensor and the Pocket has a Super 35 or maybe even tighter than Super 35, you don't need the exact same lens because we're trying to do somewhat of a similar field of view. So for example, we usually, if we're on the 50mm lens on the Canon, we're on a 35 on the Blackmagic. And even so, the 50 on the Canon was still wider than the 35 on the Blackmagic, which actually kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize there's gonna be that different.
Okay. So what do you think of the C500 so far, like with the shots?
Well, the cool thing is in the overs, I already recognize that I would much prefer to use that large format because in the room that we're in, we had a 50mm on that lens and we were wider than on the Pocket, which is 35mm. It's kind of blowing my mind right now. I didn't really expect large format to be that different from, because you've used them both but separate times. So put them right side by side, it's kind of like, whoa, that's a huge difference. So this was my first time shooting with the C500. Of course, it's a brand new camera, and I was intrigued to see what it was going to offer me as potential, a tool that I could use in the future. As soon as we got into shooting, one of the things that impressed me as I was looking at the side-by-side images was the Colorscience in the Canon C500. I don't have a lot of experience coming from Canon cinema cameras or their Colorscience per se. So that was impressive. Of course, we're shooting raw 6K, we have 12-bit images, but I was very pleased with that. The image is gorgeous, I cannot deny. It's just not the funnest operationally for me in terms of, like, for example, the user interface. I just feel like Canon hasn't updated their user interface and their menus in years, maybe more than 10 years. It just feels the same as like an old, DVX or something. I don't know, it's just so clunky to get to stuff. And this has, it wins in terms of the amount of buttons on the outside that you can touch, which will generally make you move faster. But if you ever have to go into the menu, it just feels really clunky to me and sluggish.
Alright guys, so what you're about to see is a one-to-one test comparing the Pocket 6K to the Canon C500 MKII. So this is just a small piece of it. The full video will be released in a couple days. So if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so you guys don't miss out on that video. So without further ado, here it is.
According to this, you were at that coffee shop off of 5th. You ever there? Yeah, mistakes happen, right? If you ever get a chance, best cinnamon buns in town. You know what I like about that place? I mean, besides the cinnamon buns, free Wi-Fi. Now you're a smart guy, I can tell. So what do you say me and you, we work something out?
Like?
You think I'm stupid?
No!
I've been tracking you since the airport.
How's that even possible? It takes usually 196 days for somebody freaking to get hacked.
Yeah, consider me an update. According to this, you were at that coffee shop off 5th. You over there? Man, mistakes happen, right? If you ever get a chance, though, best cinnamon buns in town. You know what I like most about that place? I mean, besides the cinnamon, of course. Free Wi-Fi. Guy like you're a smart guy, I can tell. How about me and you, we work something out?
Like?
You think I'm stupid?
No!
I've been tracking you since the airport.
How? How's that even possible? It takes 196 days for somebody to realize they've been hacked.
Yeah, consider me an update.
So it was a fun shoot, and at the end of the day, it was exciting to be able to plug that footage into Resolve and see what the results were. One of the most important things for me in a camera is dynamic range, and there's different ways to talk about dynamic range, but in particular in this camera, the low end of the dynamic range, you could say the toe of the image, was very impressive. I mean, Canon, I think, states or advertises 15 stops or so. We didn't do any scientific tests on any of that, but specifically in this scenes that we shot, they were kind of low contrast, kind of low light, which is very popular nowadays on Netflix and all that. This camera performs beautifully. There's a lot of layers, there seems to be a lot of steps in the low end of the image where you're able to see a lot of that detail in the shadows. Right off the bat, the differences between these two cameras, I mean, obviously there's a price. You have a $16,000 camera versus a $2,500 camera. So there's gonna be, pros and cons to each. The Blackmagic might need to be built out a little more, might need to have more accessories to be able to use it in certain situations, whereas the Canon has a lot of things built in and it's more ready to go. For example, on our shoot, ND filters were something that we use, that everyone uses all the time, so having those built in is very nice. A more proper comparison would have been obviously to like the Ursa Mini Pro, which has the same things, but the Pocket 6K, 6K resolution, it was just an interesting comparison. The one thing though that the Blackmagic easily takes the cake in is the fact that Blackmagic is a modern cinema camera. So the user interface, the menu system, the feature set on that side is clearly the winner in terms of, I can operate and change all my settings, and in certain cases I can pull focus from my iPhone with the Bluetooth app and things like that. I can go to my settings and dial in my settings like way faster than I can on a Canon. And that goes to any camera. I've used Alexas, comparing them to Blackmagics, and you can just get to menu systems and everything much faster and cleaner than the Blackmagic. So it's a modern cinema camera with modern tech. The other feature that Blackmagic has is very useful is the fact that you can record to external SSDs, SD cards, CFast cards. That gives you a lot of variety. In this case, we used T5 Samsung drives, which you just use for the entire day. You don't have to switch them out, and they're a fraction of the cost of what CF Express cards go for on the C500. So that's a huge plus, to be able to choose and have the flexibility in terms of media. You also have flexibility in terms of Canon lens mounts, because you can throw on the PL or the EF. So there's different pluses and, like I said, pros and cons, but it's very cool to be able to experience that and see that on set firsthand. I think the big takeaway and the lesson, I guess you could say, is that you can shoot a film on any camera. It's not really about the camera at this point. For the last few years, there's so many incredible cameras. It's about the people using them. And when you look at the Pocket 6K, you just play that back, it looks fantastic. When you're just looking at that, it looks fantastic. You can shoot a movie, you can shoot a feature on that. You switch it over and we were looking at the Canon footage, it looks fantastic, but a little extra fantastic, I have to say, in this particular scene, just because we were using a very small interrogation room. So the scene, the setup was very small. So having that large format, having that wider field of view, but still maintaining that long lens look, just gave it that extra pop of cinematic feel, if you can say that. Again, the takeaway is you can shoot an amazing movie with either of the cameras. In their own right, they shine bright. So at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's up to your creative choices. It's up to the interpretation that you want and what the audience takes back. It's basically opinion and what emotions that plays with. So again, at the end of the day, shooting camera comparison was extremely fun. I've never really shot camera comparisons. I've shot different projects on different cameras, but it was fun. Although I have to say, more fair comparison if we're doing Canon to Blackmagic has to be the Ursa Mini Pro G2 versus the C500. That's a much more fair comparison. That's my current acquisition tool of choice, the Ursa Mini Pro. I've shot many features series on that, and it has the same type of features, the internal NDs, the incredible audio coming in, a wide dynamic range, so that would be a fun test. So Armando, let's maybe do that. Anyways, it was a good time, so hopefully we'll do it again.
I do want to thank Lucas, the team, and Gear Focus for making this video possible. There will be more content coming soon. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.
All right, that's it. Cut. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you very much. And it is a wrap.
The camera's tired.